Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Live from Tampa, Florida, it's yours truly, the Exceptional One. And you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very filled night this evening, and I do mean it is very filled from moment to moment, cover to cover. But there's only one way that we could ever start off our show. I want to thank first and foremost Mrs. Biggs, love you, miss you, in the wonderful District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, who's watching us via live stream and USTREAM. Want to thank Mary, my bouncer. Glad you were in there tonight. Love you dearly. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. Dave, my very good friend, we got a very special clip from Dave this night. I'm telling you, we have a jam-packed night, and you know Tuesday nights are my favorite nights because Janice Hall of the J. Hall World Report will be here. We'll be talking about the affairs of state.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación, bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your pledge of allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize. See you later.
Love you, Senor Cabrera. This is the Exceptional One himself, the Ken McClinton, the king of 9 p.m. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, many of you, like me, are a bit perturbed. Buenas tardes. A bit perturbed over what we've been watching. And it's an amazing thing, and there's just so much I want to talk with you all about tonight, and I'm going to try to stay on track here. But watching the President of the United States at the G20 summit has been life-altering for a lot of mamsy-pamsy liberals, progressives, better known as totalitarians, who better script their lives as socialists or communists. And for them, they have never seen someone so defiant. You know, it's easier to spread progressivism when you make a quick right every once in a while, like the Republicans do. Some Republicans don't mind making a quick left every once in a while just to make certain that they have a possibility of maintaining their power base, maintaining their economic influence, and availability of donation, to maintain their positions and statuses. But when you listen to the President of the United States, you got a very good idea that he isn't President of the United States of America. I just want to make that his first and foremost thought is not the United States of America. His first and foremost thought is the United Nations under Allah. I'm going to be as controversial as I possibly can be tonight because I want to make it abundantly clear where I stand on this particular thing. Firstly, the question of whether you should have unvetted Syrians coming into our country. And please stop, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Congresswoman from District of Columbia. There's no doggone way that you can vet the hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees. There's no. Germany can't do it. London can't do it. The Great Britain can't do that. France obviously couldn't perfectly do it. So why would you even convey a message that the United States of America, especially when you don't believe in American exceptionalism, would be far greater in its ability to coalesce and vet new Democrat voters? I'm sorry, Syrian refugees. I don't. But you don't think this is political? Oh, it's very much political. It is very political. And so tonight, I want you all to understand that the President of the United States is not speaking on behalf of the United States of America. He makes it abundantly clear he doesn't believe in American winning. He doesn't believe in American leadership. He believes in leading from behind. But I want to go back and I want to establish something for you today. When we elected President Barack Hussein Obama, former infidel, well, now infidel, at least he proclaims, former Muslim, now Christian, at least he pretends, and who has a big heart for Muslim refugees and a small heart for Syrian Christians. I don't understand, but anyway, nevertheless. We have a president who believed that you, Mr. and Mrs. American voter, understood that you were not voting him to be president of the United States, but to be ambassador to the Mohammedans. You see, he's never been one to provoke the Mohammedans. He doesn't want you thinking that we are establishing a war against Islam. No way. No. We have a few bad apples which cause setbacks. And I don't know how you can get away with being president of the United States and use the term setback. But nevertheless, he does. He did. Apparently, in the most egregious situations historically regarding the attacks, especially Boko Haram earlier this evening attacked in Nigeria, killing 30 people, and they have basically partnered with ISIS, and we've talked about that on our program. And in addition to that, you have the Parisian attacks. You had the day before the Parisian attacks, the Lebanese attacks. You have ISIS agents. You have the ISIS kid who stabbed 4 people in California. You're beginning to see ISIS expand beyond the territories of a nation state, but apparently you have to be a nation state to receive support in battle against the Mohammedans. But I want you to understand that Obama is affixed right now. His job is to defend Islam from Americans. His job is to present the best image of Mohammedans to Americans. His job is to proclaim that you can have a religious test for individuals who are coming from a geopolitical area. Now, I want you to understand what he said there. The governors are against having the Syrian refugees come into the country because they cannot be adequately vetted. And the FBI director says it, the director of Homeland Security says it. Those who understand foreign policy understand that you cannot purely vet these people. There's no documentation to prove who they are. And the whole concept of, well, we have to go by fingerprints. Well, what are you going to line the fingerprints up against? Someone from al-Assad's kingdom? What are you talking about there? That's not going to happen. So what exactly are we talking about here? You're talking about a president who believes that you, Mr. and Mrs. American, are so ratchetly bent, hell-bent, on destroying people who believe in Muhammad that you will not give them the opportunity to be free, number one, respect their theology, number two, and then allow them to be the political and economic force that America is in the world. Unless you understand these concepts, you will never understand who's standing behind that podium at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You, my friend, are the enemy. You are the prosecutor in the courtroom who has a ought against the Mohammedans. And his job is to defend the Mohammedans, even in error. We're going to talk about that tonight. When we come back from our break, which people love so much, especially the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, we're going to talk about American exceptionalism. We're going to talk about Obama's Cairo speech and how that was an indicator to you that he did not seek to be president of the United States, but to be ambassador to Islam. And then we're going to have Janice Hall come on a little bit later on tonight, and a few other things we're going to talk about. There's much going on around the world. I thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Stay tuned for more of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Tampa.
I'm the executive chef of a Cleveland restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage. We cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. Now, we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused meat burgers. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection.
Time for an unpleasant blind guy, conservative bite.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing better to do tonight. Well, I have something better for you to do tonight. Consider yourself a shopper. Yes, a shopper, ladies and gentlemen, at the wonderful Infuse Restaurant. Infuse Restaurant at 6339, you said it, 6339 Allentown Road in Temple Hills, Maryland. Ladies and gentlemen, 301-499-9000. Pick up the phone, order your food tonight. You saw me trying to eat that big burger. My God, that's huge, good food. I'm just telling you, it's just good and it's economically priced. It's a good time, and especially if you want to take your wife out for the weekend to celebrate and have a good time, make certain that you do it at Infused Restaurant and Lounge in Temple Hills, Maryland. Again, 6339 Allentown Road, Camp Springs, Maryland, 20748. Ladies and gentlemen, my very good friend, the unpleasant blind guy, Dave Milner.
Time for an unpleasant blind guy, conservative bite. People, we're on our own. A sample of comments from those running for President of the United States in 2016 will help confirm this. One day after the Paris attacks of Friday the 13th of November 2015, Hillary Clinton said, "I don't think we're at war with Islam. I don't think we're at war with all Muslims. I think we're at war with jihadists. We've got to reach out to Muslim countries. We've got to have them be part of our coalition." Martin O'Malley said, "Let's not fall into the trap of thinking that all of our Muslim American neighbors in this country are somehow our enemies here. They are our first line of defense." Bernie Sanders reaffirmed his view that global warming is a greater threat than terrorism, and that in fact global warming causes terrorism. Most Republican candidates stated that we're at war with radical Islam and ISIS. Ted Cruz issued a statement saying, "We need to immediately declare a halt to any plans to bring refugees that may have been infiltrated by ISIS to the United States." Cruz also suggested relaxed rules of engagement when fighting ISIS in the Middle East. His plan is somewhat more robust than other candidates. Bobby Jindal wrote a letter to President Obama demanding answers regarding Syrian quote-unquote refugees coming into the United States, and gave the longer version of a statement he gave in January of 2015. Islam has a problem. Muslim leaders must make clear that anyone who commits acts of terror in the name of Islam is in fact not practicing Islam at all. You see a sad, familiar pattern. While none of the three major Democratic candidates, one day after the Paris attacks, were willing to even use the phrase radical Islam, their counterparts on the Republican side ride the fence between tough talk and political correctness. One can only conclude from this, people, that we are going to have to protect ourselves. This means that in situations such as those that happened in Paris and in the Oregon College here in the United States, where Christian students were targeted by a shooter, we the people are going to have to be ready to take a hand. We can and should vote for candidates that respect the Second Amendment of the United States and are ready to preserve it without reservation. But clearly, in the political reality of 2015, that's not enough. As long as our leaders and those who would be our leaders refuse to recognize Islam as the root cause of these terrorist attacks will continue, and they can happen anywhere. That being the case, each of us, as American citizens, must be prepared to defend ourselves and to defend our friends and neighbors. Where we can, we must arm ourselves. But further than that, we have to prepare ourselves mentally for a time when we, personally, may have to sacrifice ourselves for our fellows. It doesn't come from right-wing extremism, and it doesn't come from race hatred. It comes from the love of those whom you share a community with. It comes from a realization that we live in an interconnected world. When situations like the Paris attacks or the Oregon College shooting occur, even if all we have is a hand with some skin on it, we must resolve within ourselves to attack the attackers. Yes, we may be sacrificed in the attempt, but in those cases, it's better to die on our feet than to live on our knees. Now, I'm not saying this, people, because I want to talk big, or because I see myself as a hero in some stupid Hollywood movie. I'm saying these things because I am sick and tired of classrooms, theaters, and other venues filled with people being killed by jihadists and murdering scumbags when they could rush these people, give them a solid beatdown, and hand their narrow butts over to the cops. Now, I spoke with someone about doing this fight who has been in the military, and they spoke the truth that in these situations most people freeze. But being able to do something when an attack occurs begins with the evolution of a calm resolve when you know you're right with God, or when you know you're right with your conscience, and you know you're prepared to do what you can do for the good of others. And let's not forget a man named Tom Beamer, who was on Flight 93 on 9/11, who knew his hour was up and got together with the other passengers and saved who knows how many lives. People, if the government won't act on our behalf, then we're going to have to do it ourselves. Prepare, arm yourselves, train yourselves, get yourselves right with God, or if you don't believe in God, get yourselves right with your conscience. So that if that evil moment comes, when someone threatens your life or the life of your fellow citizens, the love in your heart for others will be expressed, and you will say, as Todd Beamer did, "Let's roll." This has been an unpleasant blind guy conservative fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, bringing you the sounds of nighttime. The king of 9 p.m. with you. The exceptional one, Ken McClinton, live from Tampa. Yes. I am telling you, someone hit that thing right out of the park. It saved me a good 54 more minutes of talk. We're done for the night. Adios. Dave Milner knocked it out of the park. And it's the truth. The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, when you have someone, and understand this, communists and socialists, better known as totalitarians, better known as your modern-day Democrat Party, have no problem with collateral damage when it deals with abortion. And in fact, in America, there have been more abortions than the number of people that Mao Zedong killed. There have been more abortions in America than the number of people that Stalin and Lenin killed together. In fact, the number of deaths at the hands of the despots individually, when you compare it to the number of abortions that we have had since 1972 in the United States of America, you'll see here that Democrats, socialists, communists, progressives, totalitarians do not have a problem at all with collateral damage when it comes to that issue. When it comes to the issue of importing terrorism onto the shores of America, they don't have a problem with the collateral damage of, oh, maybe 4 or 5 people will die, but see how nice and kind we are. We accepted them all in. See, when they consider your life, it is expendable. In fact, that you made it out of the womb was a great, great accomplishment, and probably the end of all that you will make in their eyes. However, when you believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the concept of there being a collateral damage as a result of one's choice is a bit of a, let's just say, an anomaly. It's You don't consider collateral damage here, but these are the same people that will look you dead in the eye and tell you that people from a nation running away from the Middle East towards North America and Europe are entitled to go across the borders. Mos Def, the rapper, alleging racism because the president of France, Hollande, does not want to open his borders any longer to the Syrians. Why? I thought that the Syrians were all Frenchmen, if we use Mos Def definition. Apparently, the open borders concept only works in your house. When you're buying a home and you want open borders, open flooring, get it that way. But for nations exist because they do have territorial borders. And there should be a reverence and respect for those territorial borders, especially when you are not kindred or born thereof. As a citizen, you are not due or entitled to be a Canadian because you happen to cross over to see Niagara Falls from the other side. You're a guest. And without proper documentation, since we have so many undocumented people here in America, without proper documentation, you're not just a guest, but you are an illegal and unwelcome guest. And you are a threat. I bring you to the point for today, the point that most Americans are going to have to grip themselves with, is that your president does not see himself as president of the United States of America. He sees himself as ambassador to Islam. And that it is his responsibility as a prophet of that particular political, economic homogeny to present the best face forward at all times. I want to go over with you 20 quotes very quickly. Trust me, these are very quick quotes, but these are the quotes of Barack Hussein Obama regarding Islam, okay, which you will probably take it aback here when you hear all of them, but here they are. Number 20. This is his quote. These are his words. I am not making these up. I also know that Islam has always been a part of America's story. Yeah. Number 19. That experience guides my conviction that partnership between America and Islam. Now remember, America and Islam. Notice how he uses America here to mean all of you under his totalitarian regime, per se, and then Islam being the world instrument, the world nation, per se. Just want to let you know that. It kind of like he refers to Syria as the respite against Syrian refugees as a religious test, when it's really not. It's a geopolitical test. But we're too dumb to figure that out for ourselves. 19. That experience guides my conviction that partnership between America and Islam must be based on what Islam is, not what it isn't. And I consider in part of my responsibility as President of the United States, which in turn is probably ambassador to Islam, but I digress, to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam whenever they appear. Who is he representing here? Is it America or Islam? Number 18. We've seen these results in generations of Muslim immigrants, farmers, and factory workers, helping to lay the railroads and build our cities. The Muslim innovators who helped build some of our highest skyscrapers and who helped unlock the secrets of our universe. Yeah. Biggest producers of what on the earth? I don't know. Maybe it's terrorism. Number 17. I look forward to hosting an iftar dinner celebrating Ramadan here at the White House later this week. Wish you had a blessed month. Number 16. The Holy Quran tells us, O mankind, we have created you male and female, and we have made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. It's amazing how the Allah portion of this created nations with borders and tribes of people within those borders, but somehow America cannot have either tribes pluribus unum, and certainly cannot have borders. I'm just saying, just wanted you to clear that one with me or with him. 15. Ramadan is a celebration of a faith known for great diversity and racial equality. Yeah. Okay. Number 14. Throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality. I think he probably forgets the Jews. Number 13. In ancient times and in our times, Muslim communities have been at the forefront of innovation in education. Yeah, they take clocks from Radio Shack and take them to school in suitcases. That is definitely a sign of innovation. Definitely. He discovered and created the clock. Amazing. Number 12. So I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. Number 11. Islam is not part of the problem in combating violent extremists. It is an important part of promoting peace. Really? So is that why everyone's posing with the quote-unquote Holy Quran and the ISIS flag? Yeah, okay. Number 10. I made clear that America is not and never will be at war with Islam. Do you understand that? He can't fire up on ISIS because ISIS is Islamic. Remember, the president had a tough time discerning that they were an Islamic group. I kind of figured that out. A few others kind of figured that out a long time ago. But it wasn't very clear to him. Number 9. America and Islam are not exclusive and need not be in competition. Instead, they overlap and share common principles of justice and progress, tolerance, and the dignity of all human beings. Wow, there's something about that Islam thing we just can't seem to get a hold on when it comes to the idea of tolerance and dignity of all human beings. How are those women working for you in Islam, huh? Yeah, 72 of them, right? Number 8. These rituals remind us of the principles that we hold in common in Islam's role in advancing justice, progress, tolerance, and the dignity of all human beings. Okay. Pedophilia. Anybody remember that one? Number 7. We will encourage more Americans to study in Muslim communities. Yeah. There's a good way of doing that. Importing Muslim radicals to take over your community. That's a very good way to study within the community. Number 6. Islam has always been part of America. Okay, really? All right. Number 5. Islam has a proud tradition of tolerance. Yeah, they tolerate within their tribe, I believe. Sunnis tolerate Sunnis, and Shia tolerate Shia, and men tolerate women and children. Yeah, great deal of tolerance here. Okay, how's that acid on the little woman's face? Number 4, as a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam. I'm not gonna lie. I read it to you. That's the quote. The civilization has an enormous debt to Islam, is my paraphrase of that. This is his quote. As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam. Does he also understand the history of Islam when it came to Israel? Does he understand the history that the king of Saudi Arabia has sent a letter to the president of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, back in I believe it was 1938. It's 1945. It was 1945, indicating their intolerance to an establishment of a Jewish state in the Middle East. So, not too good on the history, is it? Number 3, we will convey our deep appreciation for the Islamic faith, which has done so much over the centuries to shape the world, including in my own country. Yes, you have shaped a great many people against Islam. The ambassador to Islam, President Barack Hussein Obama, helps in that regard. Here's the number 2, and you all may remember this old hit of President Barack Obama's. The sweetest sound I know is the Muslim call to prayer. Here's number 1. The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. I'm going to repeat to you once more. The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. This is the President of the United States. And I'm quite sure that you are already amazed with his conviction towards Christianity. When we come back from the break, I want to give you his quotes regarding Christianity. I want to talk about the Cairo speech. And we got Janice Hall coming up. There is so much in tonight, but I needed to do this tonight on our big show so that you would have a better understanding. And I know that this is not one of those shows that people, the brothers in the hood, going to be listening to and go, whoop, 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 this is it. You know what I'm saying? No, because it's going to challenge you to think that this man is not representing you, Mr. and Mrs. John Q. America. He's actually representing Muhammad and Allah. And he would be darned to get into a fight with the religion that he loves.
College freshmen be like, when we graduate, best friends forever. We're so big. Big Tobacco be like, right. It's gonna be a great swipe. This man has shaved his chest hair into a heart. Yes, don't mind. Right swipe.
Right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
No, wait a minute.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
That's why. Look at you with your shirt off. I can see your mouth, but you pop hashtag. this big, I guess you don't really.
Lots of chicks in the pink, not sure which one she. Them cigarettes are taking off 10 cents. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarettes gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger.
Let's swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider.
Let's swipe that. Smoking my ankle healthy.
Let's swipe that. Smoking all stealthy.
Let's swipe that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's swipe that.
And a monster truck face.
Let's swipe that. Smoking at the prom. Let's swipe that.
Getting in a photo bomb.
You don't care. Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe your lips.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe your
Let's
lips.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe your lips. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe your lips.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
My name is Christopher Arnold. I'm an executive chef of a Texas restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our syrup sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables. Served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused cheeseburger. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I cook the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat and grill it. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but if I was back home, I would be at 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. I would be calling 301-449-9000, 449-9000, 301 area code. I would be going to infuse.com, and I would be getting one of those huge burgers, man. The straight rider. Oh my God, the double bacon one. Oh my God, I'm telling you, great food, great times, great owners. Those three things you need in order to have a great meal. And quite frankly, Derek Williams and his staff do a wonderful job putting together the best in terms of eating. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about the fact that Obama, especially in his conversation, I believe it was a conversation, it wasn't simply a speech. It was a press conference. We have to say it's a press conference. Let's make it very stark clear that the Parisian attack by ISIS was a setback to his 6-point plan. And I'm going to be writing an essay and putting it out tomorrow morning about his 6-point plan. And a lot of people don't remember that he actually gave that 6-point plan about 2 years ago, right before the election, right after 9/11, with a concept that he wasn't going to defeat, he was going to contain first and then defeat. And we talked last night about the term contain, meaning that you're working together. And when we talk tonight with Janice Hall has a very special taping of Vladimir Putin. And I'm not a fan of Vladimir Putin. Okay, let's just get this straight. But sometimes even evil people can say something that's truthful. Out of the mouth of evil people, you might learn the truth. And so, quite frankly, we're going to learn some truths tonight that are not being reported on the mainstream stations, the quote-unquote mainstream, because I'm mainstream. I'm the king of 9 p.m. But you need to hear this, and you need to be able to get this information out there to a whole lot of people to refute the arguments on the totalitarian side, the communist, socialist, progressive, liberal side, that tell you that you are a mean and ungodly person because you would like to protect your home from both predators, domestic and foreign. But I want to go over 20 quotes that the President of the United States has made. And these are not quotes from when he was a teenager or something. These are quotes during his administration, his regime, I would put it. And let me just go through those 20 quotes real quick with you, because some people say, well, Ken, you're slightly biased. Don't you know that he's a Christian? Well, Jesus said, I know you by the fruit that you bear. Number 20, I believe that there are many paths to the same place. And that is a belief that there is a higher power, a belief that we are connected as a people. That sounded like Oprah Winfrey, didn't it? That there are many ways to God. And the scriptures clearly state that there's only one way to God, and that's through Christ. But so be it. It is what it is. And the live stream just went. There we go. Okay. That's wild. That's wild. Okay. Just got a lot of stuff going on right here on the computer. That's what it's saying to me. Need to get rid of some of this stuff here. Okay, so I'm going to go through it as quickly as I possibly can. We'll pick up again via live stream. Hopefully we have not lost anyone via USTREAM. Okay. Good. We haven't. Okay. Let's go back. Number 19. All of us have a responsibility to work for the day when the mothers of Israeli and Palestinians can see their children grow up without fear. When the Holy Land of the three great faiths is the place of peace that God intended it to be. When Jerusalem is a secure and lasting home for Jews and Christians and Muslims, and a place for all of the children of Abraham to mingle peacefully together, as in the story of Israel. The story of Israel? As in the story of Israel, when Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them, joined in prayer. Now, for those of us who are following along at home, Israel, according to Islamic tradition, the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, took during a single night around the year 621. It has been described as both a physical and spiritual journey. Okay, and apparently that particular spiritual journey is what the President of the United States is referring to. He's referring to Muhammad here, not the Holy Bible, but his Quran. Number 18, we have Jews, Muslims, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, Buddhists, and their own path to grace is one that we have to revere and respect as much as our own. Well, indeed, every man has his belief, and no one takes that from him. But we should not necessarily hear you, as a Christian, equating religions to faith. Number 17, on Easter or Christmas Day, my mother might drag me to church just as she dragged me to the Buddhist temple, the Chinese New Year celebration, the Shinto shrine, and ancient Hawaiian burial sites. It's all the same. It's just want to let you know now, just in case you're looking, it's all the same. Number 16, in our household, the Bible, the Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita sat on the shelf alongside books of Greek and Norse and African mythology. It's all the same. It's just relative, you know. Pick and choose. Number 15, you got into these small towns in Pennsylvania, and like a lot of small towns in the Midwest, the jobs have been gone now for 25 years and nothing's replaced them. And they fell through the Clinton administration and the Bush administration and each successive administration that said that somehow these communities are going to regenerate, and they have not. And it's not surprising then that they get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. Wow, this is a loving and caring man, isn't he? Number 14, on his support for civil unions for gay couples, this is his quote: if people find that controversial, then I would just refer them to the Sermon on the Mount. Number 13, those opposed to abortion cannot simply invoke God's will. They have to explain why abortion violates some principle that is accessible to people of all faiths. I got one: thou shalt not kill. Can we start from there? I can't find a single religion that believes in killing. I don't know of one. Is there one? Someone's got to tell me that there's got to be. Well, only the religion of the progressives. Yeah, Marxism is a religion. So there you go. So kill a baby. I tell you. Number 12. I've said this before, and I know this raises questions in the minds of some evangelicals. I do not believe that my mother, who never formally embraced Christianity as far as I know, I do not believe she went to hell. We do not. Okay, all right. If that makes you comfortable, okay. But then you're calling Jesus a liar. Just saying. Just saying. Number 11. I don't presume to have knowledge of what happens after I die, but I feel very strongly that whether the reward is in the here and now or in the hereafter, the aligning myself to my faith and my values is a good thing. Here's number 10 for you of the hit parade that we're going down on the quotes. Notice how odd he is with Islam as a Christian, and as a Christian how negative he is towards his own faith. I mean, if you felt this way about your own faith, I would go back to what I was. Here's number 10. I find it hard to believe that my God would consign 4/5 of the world to hell. I can't imagine that my God would allow some little Hindu kid in India who never interacts with the Christian faith to somehow burn for all eternity. That's just not part of my religious makeup. Not part of my religious makeup. That's not what the Bible says regarding those who have not received the gospel of Jesus Christ. They will be judged according to his will and not the will of man. However, once you have heard of Jesus Christ and you basically reject him, he will reject you before his Father. I think he makes it very plain there. I don't know. Maybe we need some lawyers here. I don't know. And that goes back to the Oprah Winfrey. I don't believe in a jealous God who is so cruel and heartless. Wow. Okay. Number 9. This is something that I'm sure I'd have serious debates with my fellow Christians about. I think that the difficult thing about my religion, including Christianity, is that at some level there is a call to evangelize and proselytize. There's the belief, certainly in some quarters, that people haven't embraced Jesus Christ as their personal Savior, that they're going to hell. Those crazy Christians, oh, they'll believe anything they read out of the Bible. Come on! Number 8, if all it took was someone proclaiming, I believe Jesus Christ, and that he died for my sins, and that was all there was to it, people wouldn't have to keep coming to church, would they? Wow. This is the President of the United States. This is not just telling you people. This is not teenager sitting in the classroom getting pissed off with the nun who keeps telling him that he needs to give his life to Christ. No, this is the President of the United States. Okay, so everything about the Bible is virtually a lie. You can pick and choose for the buffet. Number 7, Obama's response when asked what his definition of sin is: being out of alignment with my values. It's like a car. It's like a car. If you're out of alignment. There you go. From Obama's book, The Audacity of Hope. I am not willing to have the state deny American citizens a civil union that confers equivalent rights on such basic matters as hospital visitation or health insurance coverage simply because the people they love are of the same sex. Nor am I willing to accept a reading of the Bible that considers an obscure line in Romans to be more defining of Christianity than the Sermon on the Mount. Something about that Sermon on the Mount thing, boy, it must have stuck with him. That must have been the sermon that he actually taped with Jeremiah Wright. You know, he took the tape home. Number 5, the American people intuitively understand this, which is why the majority of Catholics practice birth control, and some of those opposed to gay marriage nevertheless are opposed to a constitutional amendment to ban it. Religious leadership need not accept such wisdom in counseling their flocks, but they should recognize this wisdom in their politics. Wow. Separation of God and man. There we go. Number 4, even those who claim the Bible's inerrancy make distinctions between scriptural edicts, sensing that some passages, the Ten Commandments say, or belief in Christ's divinity, are central to Christian faith, while others are more culturally specific and may be modified to accommodate modern life. Wow, these sound like you then. Number 3, which passages of Scripture should guide our public policy? Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay? Well, it did not. It did not. But this is what happens when someone wants to be a Berean, but he ends up being a Philistine. I'm just saying. And that eating shellfish is an abomination. Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child if he strays from the faith. Number 2, we do not consider ourselves a Christian nation. And then lastly, number 1 on this hit parade, whatever we once were, we are no longer a Christian nation. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, Janice Hall with J Hall World Report, we will be talking about, well, I can't say gay parade, but certainly jihad parade, and how the ambassador to Islam has disappointed the world. Thank you for listening. You are certainly listening to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world, the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Tampa Bay this week. Tampa Bay, Florida it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the second half of the Exception Considered Show live from Tampa, Florida. I want to thank Rebooting Liberty, SHR Media, Pundit Press Media, USTREAM, Livestream. I want to thank Barry by Bouncer for being in the chat room. If you diss or you diss me, you will be dismissed. Dave Milner, who knocked it out of the park earlier this day with his conservative bite. In addition to that, I want to thank Mrs. Biggs, who is at home tonight watching from USTREAM and Livestream. We got more. Stay tuned. JANIS Hall coming up.
Niños, this is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your pledge of allegiance, and then while you practice, step back to you and memorize. We'll see you later.
And I will see you now. Thank you, Senor Cabrera. As we pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the flag for which it stands, certainly a mighty nation under one God. Coming up now in this 10 p.m. moment, as I am the king of 9 p.m. and maybe even the king of 10 p.m. Maybe we'll stretch it. We will talk now with JANIS Hall, the J Hall World Report, about all things that seem political. Ding, 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 ding. One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies. Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing, JANIS? It's a wonderful time to have you on the air.
I'm doing all right. we have had some news that's happened around the world.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. It's been, I think we can all agree it's been kind of a bad week.
Yeah, it has been. For those people, and a lot of people don't know, but an American did die in the Parisian attack. We are yet to hear the White House say anything about that particular person. But Boko Haram today attacked and killed 30 people in Nigeria, over 100 people wounded. You have the Lebanese attack on Thursday before the ISIS attack on Paris. This has been quite a revolting week, has it not been?
Yes. Yes. Of course, added to the the Russian airliner a couple weeks ago.
Wow. That
basically the Russians had basically come out and said it was a bomb. It was a terrorist attack. It was ISIS.
Exactly. Now I want to play tonight because you hit me to a YouTube video by Reuters, and I give props to the person who hipped you to it.
It was my mom.
There you go.
She does find some pretty amazing things.
There you go. See, that's how you know you got it good in your family genetically. I tell you, when it comes to foreign policy. But if you would, because I know that you're going to be playing the clip, and I'm going to start at the 1 second mark. If you could read the subtitles to this clip, it is Vladimir Putin doing a press conference, or at least he's being quizzed by the press, and he's talking about who created ISIS. So I'm going to play this, and you can give us the translation from the Russian.
Okay, so you're starting at the beginning?
Starting at the beginning.
Я не говорил, что США представляют для нас угрозу.
Вот президент Обама, как вы сказали, считает...
Okay, so we'll go back. Okay.
I'm sorry. I think I just had subtitles started. So, okay.
Here we go. Janice Hall doing her translation of Russian into English. Here we go.
We'll see how this goes, guys. Make no promises. Okay.
Я не говорил, что США представляют для нас угрозу. Президент Обама, как вы сказали, считает Россию угрозой. Я не думаю, что США для нас представляют угрозу. Я думаю, что политика правящих кругов, как...
Do you want to play the whole thing, or do you want to skip ahead a little bit?
Правительство
правящих кругов... Let's skip ahead to what? The 3-minute mark?
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip ahead to the 3-minute mark. There we go. We're going to start at 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to read faster.
Это разве не их союзники?
Okay. So basically, he's talking about where weapons are coming from and who's supporting ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
So in areas where they started extracting oil and paying mercenaries more, in those areas, those rebels from civilized Syrian opposition forces immediately joined ISIS because they're paid more. I consider this absolutely unprofessional politics. It's not grounded on facts in the real world.
Зачем они бомбят ИГИЛ? Вот там начали...
We must support civilized democratic opposition in Syria.
Там часть сразу...
So you support arm them, and then tomorrow they join ISIS.
Цивилизованной оппозиции сразу же перетекла в ИГИЛ.
Can they not think a step ahead?
Я считаю, что это абсолютно невыверенная,
We don't stand for this kind of politics
безобразная реалия.
In the U.S. It seems wrong. It harms all parties, including you. When it comes to the consideration of our national interests, I would really like it if people like you as journalists, who pose questions would one day ask your government, maybe then we can somehow this one. If it doesn't happen, I will... Oh, it's talking too fast.
Мы считаем, что наш лично
It's not as important, so I'll just skip this section.
Что касается учета наших интересов,
Basically, it's not looking for any confrontation with the U.S. When you start to consider our national interests in your actions, any other disagreements we may have themselves out. This needs to be done, not just talked about. You must consider the interests of others, and you must respect other people. I'm going to come back to this when we talk about it. You cannot squeeze others. Have considered only the benefits that you require from whatever in economics, in your military activities, and everything. Look at Iraq. The situation is terrible. We all agree about that. Look at Libya, what you did there. And you got your ambassador murdered. What is it? Basically, that's what you've done. You established a no-fly zone. What for? So the Gaddafi's Air Force couldn't fly over and bomb the rebels. This wasn't the smartest decision. Okay. What did you do then? You started bombing the territory. This isn't clear.
Абсолютную зону сделать. Для чего? Для того, чтобы не могли летать самолеты.
We did it. We did this to ourselves.
Лучшее решение. Ну ладно. А что на самом деле?
And the result was that our master was murdered.
В том числе и по территории.
But you look around for someone to blame when it's you making these mistakes.
Wow.
Без всякой резолюции. Это мы что ли сделали?
You must do the opposite. You must rise above the endless desire to dominate.
Вашего посла. Кто виноват?
You must stop acting out of imperialistic ambition.
Это хорошо для США.
Do not poison the consciousness of millions of people like...
Но не нужно искать.
But anyway,
сами допускаете ошибки.
This talks about how Russia has supported the U.S. in previous wars. Venus obviously mentioned soil wars. It's the big one. I personally believe that the geostrategic interests of Russia and the U.S. are essentially the same. We must focus on these interrelationships. I think that for the most part,
there you go. So the creator of ISIS was who was that?
Who says it's us? The U.S. And while I wouldn't necessarily say it's directly the U.S., I definitely say that we have clearly not done anything. We definitely have done nothing to stop them.
Exactly.
And our, whatever you want to say it, our lack of effective involvement, our, arming of rebels that then turn into ISIS. I mean, all of it essentially has allowed these terrorists to flourish and to create problems.
Wow.
And one of the other things that I wanted to highlight from what he said, and because this is something that I have also said previously, and how he says that essentially, U.S. and Russian interests are generally, in the big picture, at least in terms of, terrorists, generally the same thing, right?
Yeah.
They have a serious problem with Islamic extremists, and we do as well. And yet, everything that we do with Russia basically antagonizes them. And he also talks about when he respecting essentially others and their national security interests. That's absolutely true. Everything that Russia does, you could say they're kind of a bully, and to some degree they are.
Yeah.
But they really are looking after their own national interests, and I don't think that you can hold that against, a country. And, for looking out for themselves. I personally wish the U.S. did more of that, actually. And I think that we continue to harp on Putin and on Russia and complain that he's, looking out for himself when, that's exactly what he should be doing.
Exactly.
And we focus on that instead of that which we have in common, which is a radicalist Islam problem.
Exactly. The Boston bombing should prove how akin we are on the issue of terrorism. They are being, China as well has the same issue regarding terrorism.
Well, it's not quite as acute as, say, Western Europe, the U.S., or Russia, but it's definitely likely to get worse.
Exactly. So you have the African nations that are suffering from terrorism thanks to Boko Haram and other Muslim extremists and radicals there. You have China. There are certain religious groups who are terrorists and who are being linked to. You have Malaysia and other southeastern Asian nations which are under duress. Japan isn't, because they won't tolerate any Muslims being in their country. They've made certain that they threw everyone out. But literally, wherever there is this Muslim, Mohammedan, Islamic influence, there is also the tendency towards terrorism. And Russia and the U.S. and now France share a common enemy. Why is it so difficult for the President of the United States to change his 6-point plan and begin fighting Islamic radicals, jihadists?
I wish I had an answer to that question, but I don't really have an answer why it's so hard. if I was president, or I believe if someone more competent was president, it wouldn't be so hard. He should be doing it.
Yeah.
And yet he's not. And it boggles my mind that he doesn't. That he doesn't see this as a problem. That he doesn't see this as something that needs to be dealt with. And, you know, it's sad when I watch something, you know, what happened in Paris on Friday, and see, you know, over 100 people killed by terrorists, and I seriously doubt if anything is going to happen. If we're going to, not just the U.S., but even France, if there'll actually be any conceded effort to deal with the Islamic State. And I know that France, in the wake of the attacks, has talked, you know, pretty harshly about it. But I still wonder if they will actually do what is necessary to, you know, get rid of the Islamic State.
Exactly.
And radical Islam.
You know, and you and I have talked about this over the 3 years that we've been on the air, and we're coming up on year number 4. And I just thank God for you for being such a great foreign policy guru, bringing stuff down to the kitchen table for people to understand. But we've been talking about this, and we've been warning people that this stuff is happening. And you know, as much as I feel sorrow in my heart for the Parisians and the people of France, what part of did you bring this on yourselves do they take responsibility for? Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I cruel for asking that question at this time?
I mean, they definitely did. You know, it's been a long time in coming. I think it was, to some degree, inevitable. You know, that said, it's still absolutely wrong. And
yeah,
they should, you know, deal with the situation. But, you know, like I said before, I seriously doubt that they will, or that anybody will. The U.S. has definitely been very quiet on the Paris attacks. I suppose that's not necessarily. I mean, it's par for the course with Obama, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, as much as I would like to see, you know, France or Russia or anybody at this juncture actually wage a war against Islamic extremists, I still don't see it happening.
Wow. You know, that's really sad. That is really sad because the people of France who are watching and listening tonight and listening to various outlets are hope against all hope that someone would come over the horizon. I mean, first and foremost, I don't understand why the Parisians still hold on to this gun control state. I would open up the armory and give every Frenchman a gun and train him and tell him to protect his neighborhood. I don't understand why you have certain areas of France that's just apportioned off for terrorists and the Islamic way. I just don't understand why any of this is happening, and some of this stuff is beginning to happen here in the U.S., where certain cities are having Muslim enclaves and not doing anything to eradicate those enclaves, not making sure that people assimilate. With all that going on, are we supposed to believe if they don't change their own policies towards protecting themselves that they will not incur another attack, even in a police state?
I think the genie's been out of the bottle for quite a long time in terms of attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was always bound to happen. It's the frequency and the magnitude of the attacks, I think, that that you can have some influence over.
Yeah.
And basically, essentially, until this is my belief, that until Islamic extremism is essentially no more, I think we are going to see attacks in the Western world.
Well said.
And if things don't change, if we continue to ignore the problem and Islamic extremists are able to continue organizing and planning, then I think we're probably going to see Western countries starting to look more like Israel, where you have much more, where essentially the frequency of attacks is much higher.
Wow, and I concur with you in that. I really believe these things are coming to fruition faster than most people believe or could even consider. And what's worse,
Just look at the fact that within a span of 2 weeks we had a Russian airliner was bombed and we had these attacks in Paris.
Exactly. And I'm going to be very frank with you, and some people will say I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm not. I'm just saying, for America, it won't change until there is a anti-aircraft weapon discharged and a plane falls out of the sky. At that particular point, people will say, oh, wait a minute, they are attacking us. I think we have become too cold and too, basically immune to what's going on, and the Syrian refugee crisis opens up a great door for people to take advantage of the liberties and freedoms that are held here. I wanted to ask you about that. What is the White House saying about the refugees at this particular point?
I honestly have not been following if there's been any news. I know that the original plan was that we would take some, and I haven't heard of that changing. So,
Wow.
as far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
the plan is still to take some. I would hope, though, hope is somewhat fickle, that whoever was allowed in would be, be legitimately be refugees. But, to some degree, going back to your point, what you were saying earlier, about, are people just, not looking at what's going on, I think to some degree that's true. I think because they don't see an army marching, with tanks.
Exactly.
Towards them, they somehow think that this is not actually war. But they're wrong. What happened in Paris was absolutely an act of war, done by essentially a state actor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not a criminal act as much as people want to think of it that way. It's war, and there's really, nothing else for it.
I want to broach this with you real quick, because there are some people that believe that because ISIS does not have the boundaries, especially the open borders people, I don't understand how they can come up with this concept, but because they do not have national boundaries, they cannot be treated as a national entity, and thus we should not go to war against ISIS, although the precedent was set after 9/11, the first 9/11, when NATO was called to order and began bombing in Afghanistan, that virtually France has the right to call NATO to war and to call the U.S. to war. Your thoughts regarding that particular process?
Okay, so I think that we gets into a lot of legalese.
Yes.
For international law purposes, okay, as long as he isn't really a country, okay? In reality, though, they are.
Yeah.
They have territory, they have people, they have, basically everything except perhaps, everything that they can see, with the exception of perhaps, legitimacy.
Yes.
And, I don't think that, you need to have us. I think we need to perhaps redefine how we understand the concept of war.
There you go.
Before it's been countries go to war, and things like that happen. Okay? But I think with, radical Islam that we've seen, that essentially we do need to, we need to go to war against it.
Yeah.
And there really hasn't been anything, we really haven't done that.
Exactly.
We did, just generally speaking, we went to war against Nazi Germany. Yes, it was a country, but it was also an ideology. And essentially when that war was over, so was the ideology. Yes, there are some remnants of it that still exist, but, it's become so marginal that it's not really important anymore.
Exactly.
And I think if we could do that with, Nazism, I think that there's no reason to think that we couldn't do that with, radical Islam.
Exactly. And we went to war against Al-Qaeda. That's how we got there in the first place. I want to close real quick on this one because I don't know if the world understands how important you have been, especially on this show, talking about China. And it seemed like the rest of the world's finally waking up to what's happening in China. And in fact, I think it's the New York Times today where there is a story about U.S. Navy ships headed to and docking in China. Are you pleased that the Obama administration has finally awakened to the issue of the South China Sea?
Okay, so I am happy to some degree that he realizes that apparently this is an issue. He needed to realize this several years ago when China first started making advances into the region. Because now it's kind of too late. The kid went in his cookie jar, stole a cookie, and ate the cookie, and now the parent is, trying to hide the cookie jar. Well, I'm sorry, the cookie already came out, and you're just too late.
Janice Hall, making it real for you and very, very plain for you regarding what's going on between Russia, France, and the U.S., between China and the U.S., and there's a lot going on in the world. And I thank God every Tuesday night Janice is here to bring us the attention-getting news that isn't getting the attention that it deserves. And thank you. God bless you, Janice.
Thank you.
All right. Janice Hall, the J. Hall World Report. Oh, my God. That is funny. That is simply funny. We come back. It's a little too late. The cookie jar is broken. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to amp it up. It will be our non-commercial finish to the night on the eve of SHR Media Night with Sackheads Radio, Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, and Free Sacco. who is now in San Francisco for all intents and purposes. But when we come back, I want to talk with you about American exceptionalism. I want to talk with you about Putin and France working together, and how a speech done in Cairo pretty much gave you the idea that Barack Obama would never lay a hand on his own brethren. You're listening tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I'm the Exceptional One, Ken McClinton, and I'm looking forward to guiding you through the rest of this particular evening.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of a Q's restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and green. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. Now, we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused meat burgers. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce.
Oh, yes, you do.
80-20 USDA brown chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and then it goes on into the meat that's still in it. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Order up, people. I'm telling you. Inspire, indulge, infuse. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. You can call them at 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000. If you happen to be in the area, I'm quite certain you can stop past. Or if you just want to know what good food looks like, infuse.com. Infuse.com. Tell you, that's good eating, people. That's real good eating. Ladies and gentlemen, do not drink and drive this holiday season. There are lots of opportunities for you to take cab rides and also ask your friends and family to drive you. But certainly, don't you become responsible for the death and the destruction of a family because you couldn't move away from the table or the bar. Just say no this holiday season. There we go, baby. We have reached that point of no return in the Exceptional Conservative Show. Our carnival of intrigue. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are going straight through, non-stop. There is no break. We are on the express lane, and tonight we have been talking about the ambassador to Islam, Barack Hussein Obama, President of the United States of America. And as we get into our final half hour of this particular program, with fourth quarter of our program, we are so glad, so pleased to have Mrs. Biggs from Washington, D.C. watching via USTREAM and live stream, the beautiful and brilliant Mary Brockman, who is my bouncer. If you just heard just me, you will be dismissed. And as well, Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, put on a great conservative bite. You need to go to his YouTube site to hear the bite. I tell you, great stuff. It seems like we are like-minded this particular evening. The Parisian attacks seemingly have reshaped the conversation about immigration and about foreign policy. And I want you all to know that it is the GOP that has decided to take pot shots at the non-establishment candidates. Yes, Carly Fiorina, Dr. Ben Carson, and as well Donald Trump. Now, these three mavericks came on the scene because they were not insiders. They were not part of the Roman Senate. They were not part of the corrupt republic that was transferring power to an emperor who was redistributing the wealth of a nation to his despotic friends and family. No, you have to understand that the GOP is actually the enemy of the United States at this particular point. And I know that that might be over the top for some people, but they are. They are. Once you tell people that you have to have the House and the Senate in order to make change in Washington, and you get the House and you get the Senate, and you don't make any change in Washington. In fact, you make matters worse by giving a blank check to the President of the United States, who may leave office with more than $20 to $25 trillion having been spent during the time of his administration. Well, actually, more along the lines of $15 trillion having been spent during his particular administration. And we are wondering what for, because the results are very simple. The economy is not growing. The palpitations are quite severe in our economy. The job growth isn't there, although people get excited about 300,000 jobs having been created. In order to get the magnitude of people who have moved from the roles of unemployment to the roles of disability back into the workforce, you have to create 350,000 jobs a week, probably for the next 4 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a serious disconnect, and there was an attack. I want to make that clear to you. Politico today has a story by Katie Gluick and Daniel Strauss. Katie Gluick, Daniel Strauss. It's called GOP Leaders, National Security Will End Carson and Trump Campaigns. Now remember, what started Donald Trump's campaign was a national security issue. It was immigration. What has remarkably given great uplifting to Dr. Ben Carson's campaign is his majestic ability to answer questions with great consideration without the fear of retribution from any of those who are running against him. You see, it seems like he's able to really think a matter out, consider it, and then admit a mistake if he's made it, just like the Second Amendment issue that he has walked back and affirms himself to be a strong Second Amendment person. But Dr. Ben Carson has been cross-marked for retaliation by those in the GOP. And you might witness the fact that it was Marco Rubio who made comments recently towards Ted Cruz, both senators in the U.S. Senate, both running for the presidency of the United States, where Ted Cruz took a shot at Marco Rubio for his lack of conservative steadfastness in the area of immigration, since he is a pro-amnesty person. And so Marco Rubio shoots back that somehow Ted Cruz's vote somehow made the nation weaker when it came to the surveillance provisions of the National Security Acts. That somehow, because Ted Cruz voted for a bill that did not get out of the Senate per se. Well, it did get out of the Senate and the House all collectively. Not completely the way we all wanted it, but certainly it took away the rights of the NSA to surveillance Americans without there being a acceptance of the Fourth Amendment, without there being a search warrant. You can't just willy-nilly do this kind of stuff. You have to have a reasonable cause. And somehow, because Ted Cruz decided to follow the ambitions of Madison, Washington, and Jefferson, he's unconstitutional and not conservative. But because Marco Rubio wanted to follow the efforts of the modern-day Democrats and provide amnesty, he's a better candidate. This is what the establishment GOP is attempting to blurb over. Now, in this particular article, let me read to you. The reemergence of foreign policy atop the Republican agenda will force voters to reevaluate the outsider candidates, particularly as both Trump and Carson display a lack of knowledge about national security and the terrorist threat, party stalwarts say. Party stalwarts say. Party stalwarts say. Well, these are party stalwarts. They're going to say that because these are not your factions. These are not the people. These are individuals who have hijacked the Republican Party, using its base as an opportunity to jump out and become president of the United States. Now, Caton Dawson, the former chairman of the South Carolina GOP, makes these remarks. She says the losers are going to be Donald Trump and Ben Carson on national security, as the Republican base sobers up. Now, apparently, if you're a Republican and you believe and support Donald Trump and Ben Carson, you're drunk. You're incompetent. You're caught up in a fad. So the educators from the Communist Bloc, the Republican Socialist Bloc, the Republican Party, are going to come and tell you that you need to change. In fact, she says, as the Republican base sobers up, they are the two. If this story lasts a long time, it's going to hurt. Well, what's going to hurt about them? Well, Ben Carson has a story in today's New York Times in which an outside advisor of his basically makes the assertion that Ben Carson doesn't have the skill set necessary on foreign policy to deal with the issues. And in fact, Dwayne R. Claridge, who is a former CIA agent and advisor to Ben Carson, makes some remarks. He says nobody has been able to sit down with him and have him get one iota of intelligent information about the Middle East, said Dwayne R. Claridge, a top advisor to Mr. Carson on terrorism and national security. Although the Carson campaign comes back in a press release later on today and states that he is not a top advisor. He simply advised him on certain matters. They appreciate his advice and think it is anti-journalistic behavior for the New York Times to pick on such an old man. But that's their retort. But Claridge goes on to say, he also said Mr. Carson needed weekly conference calls briefing him on foreign policy so we can make him smart. I don't think you really need to make him smart. I think he comes with the goods. You have to make him aware. Okay, and so some of this is as much a slight to these individuals as they possibly can make, hoping that it shakes the resolve of individuals to support these people. But they don't understand something. And not that I'm not rooting for either one of these, except for maybe Ted Cruz. I'm a big Cruz fan. If he doesn't become president, I would love for him to become Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. But certainly, we have political situations that seem very easy to address at this particular juncture. First and foremost, the 6-point decision or 6-point philosophy of the ISIS strategy. One of those points is to bomb Syria. Well, we pinpricked bombed Syria, so we're really not doing that. Number two, that we were to train the Kurds. That didn't work out. I think we got 6 Kurds out of the deal. We spent that $500 million to get them. 586 million, something like that. That's a whole lot of money for just a few Kurds. And we're supposed to train the Syrian rebels. How'd that work out? Apparently, there are not too many Syrian rebels because they're all across the Mediterranean Sea to go to Germany. You know what I'm saying? So that didn't work out. And also, there's supposed to be an international coalition of nations coming together. Well, when France picked up the phone the other day and asked for you all to join in at NATO, and the response was, beep, beep. He's not home right now. But please leave a message and we'll get right back with you, President Halal. So literally, you have a scenario and a situation here where you can see the ultimate failure of the ISIS strategy, even by the standards set by President Barack Hussein Obama, the ambassador to Mohammedism. And now you have the GOP feeling the funk. They feel now that they have an opportunity to present Marco Rubio, pro-amnesty, Jeb Bush, pro-amnesty, as individuals who have the possibility of being president of the United States. They feel like they can wear these guys out on foreign policy, but they don't understand. And despite what Charles Krauthammer said earlier today on Brett Baer's special report, the bottom line is, foreign policy is something that you can grasp very easily when you have principles that are in place. When you believe that your borders are your borders, then you will create policies that defend your border. If you believe that your allies are your allies, then you will create strategies to support your allies, especially when they are being harassed, harangued, and harmed by those who are terrorists. And most importantly, if you believe that Jerusalem is the home for the Jews, and certainly Israel is the home for the Jews, then you would not take a 2 or 3 or 4 state solution to the table. It would be a 1-state solution, and that would be Jerusalem and Israel, Jerusalem as the capital city of Israel. And that the Palestinians, well, there are about 48 other Muslim nations. Find your route, find your place. Just like taking in 800,000 people, Ms. Merkel, Chancellor Merkel, may not necessarily be the most brilliant idea, especially when they go off into their enclaves and then create terrorists in your nation. Let's see what kind of help you'll ask from us in about 4 to 5 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we're looking at a foreign policy that's going to be created, the attacks, which should come from the left, the attacks that should come from the progressives, the totalitarians, the socialists, the communists, like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, they're coming from the GOP. And quite frankly, I am looking forward to the fact that we are refocusing on our foreign policy. And in fact, Donald Trump doubling down. He acknowledged not knowing the difference between Hamas and Hezbollah. But what knowledge do you need to know the difference between terrorists? They're terrorists, okay? And they didn't fret over Ben Carson's mistaken belief that the Chinese are involved in the Syrian conflict. The Chinese are involved in the Syrian conflict. They were helping fly J-16s with the Russians. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can't believe everything that you hear. from the mainstream media, because their objective is to destroy the disenfranchised establishment rules and hurt Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz, and Dr. Ben Carson. So I say all that to say this to you regarding these particular situations and circumstances. Please be very guarded from here. Listen to what is truth regarding this, and know that as time goes on, these men will talk more and more discreetly about policy and about issues. But those are not the cream of the crop at this particular moment. Iowa is the thing that's on the minds of these people. And while we're talking about Iowa, let's talk about remarks by the president at Cairo University. Ken, what are you talking about? Yeah, and Mary Brockman's absolutely right. Isn't that what the cabinet is for? Yeah, to give good advice, give good counsel. My goodness, Mary, you're right on point. I mean, gee, if one guy knew everything, then you wouldn't need a Congress. I'm just saying. Remarks by the president at Cairo University, 6/4/2009. Assalamu alaikum. Brought great applause from this particular president, the ambassador to Islam. And John Kerry admits that ISIS is now a legitimate organization since they pulled off the Parisian attack, which is a reason why John Kerry should not be Secretary of State. I'm just saying, it's just me. Maybe other people don't feel it, but I think as witness to the fact that the rest of the world knows that you failed, Mr. Obama. They can see it, they can feel it, they can hear it in your defensive nature at the G20, responding to questions from your buddies from the press who say, wait a minute, you suck as a foreign policy leader. And Vladimir Putin is a genius at foreign policy, apparently, in comparison to you. And actually, you have to do a lot to make Vladimir Putin a genius at foreign policy, since he has a communist nation. Dude, something's wrong with you. And your defense and your answers to the questions were always the same. Why are they always the same? Well, let's go back to 1:10 p.m. local time, Cairo, Egypt, Cairo University. The remarks by the president on a new beginning. June 4th, 2009. Okay, and President Obama, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I am honored to be in the timeless city of Cairo, and timeless, really, and to be hosted by two remarkable institutions for over 1,000 years. Al-Azhar has stood as a beacon of Islamic learning, and for over a century, Cairo University has been a source of Egypt's advancement. And together, you represent the harmony between tradition and progress. I'm grateful for your hospitality and the hospitality of the people of Egypt. And I'm also proud. They didn't know that he was working on getting the Muslim Brotherhood to take over Egypt at this time. I'm just telling you, they didn't know. And I'm also proud to carry with me the goodwill of the American people and a greeting of peace for Muslim communities in my country. Okay, because he couldn't speak for the Christians. He had to speak for the Muslims. Assalamu alaikum. We meet, bean pie brought. We meet at a time of great tension between the United States and Muslims around the world. What? I thought we were at war with Iraq and not Islam. But apparently we have tensions. So all right. That go beyond any current policy debate. The relationship between Islam and the West includes centuries of coexistence and cooperation. There's a lot of coexistence and cooperation when Muslims are actually raiding African villages and taking the best and the brightest and sending them to the United States as slaves. Yeah, check your history, sir. But I digress. More recently, tension has been fed by colonialism that denied rights and opportunities to many Muslims in a Cold War in which Muslim-majority countries were too often treated as proxies without regard to their own aspirations. Moreover, the sweeping change brought by modernity and globalization led many Muslims to view the West as hostile to the traditions of Islam. Violent extremists have exploited these tensions in a small. I want you to understand what this man just said. That the attack on September 11th, 2001 was a small but potent thing. A small thing. Well, he says it this way: in a small but potent minority of Muslims, violent extremism. The attacks of September 11, 2011, and the continued efforts of these extremists to engage in violence against civilians has led some in my country to view Islam as inevitably hostile not only to America and Western countries but also to human rights. Clutch the pearls, no, not human rights. All this has bred more fear and more mistrust. And I don't understand why there's this fear and mistrust, Mr. President. It only appears that one religion is blowing the heck out of countries and cities and stabbing people in classrooms and killing servicemen on base. It seems only one religion is doing that. I don't know why we have this fear and mistrust. Let me digress. So long as our relationship is defined by our differences, we will empower those who sow hatred rather than peace. People like me who believe in common sense. Those who promote conflict rather than the cooperation that can help all of our people achieve justice and prosperity. Here we go. As the Holy Quran tells us, be conscious of God and speak always the truth. Really? From the President of the United States, who says that there is no corruption in the IRS? That is what I will try to do today, to speak the truth as best I can, humbled by the task before us and firm in my belief that the interests we share as human beings are far more powerful than the forces that drive us apart. Let me read to you this final thing here. Now, much has been made of the fact that an African American with the name Barack Hussein Obama could be elected president. Applause, applause. I'm referring to racism here. America's racist. But my personal story is not unique. The dream of opportunity for all people has not come true for everyone in America, but its promise exists for all who come to our shores. Oh, evil America. We can't stand evil America. Let me digress for a little bit more here because he talks a long time. He's a speaker. And finally, just as America can never tolerate violence by extremists, we must never alter or forget our principles. 9/11 was an enormous trauma to our country. The fear and anger that it provoked was understandable, but in some cases, it led us to act contrary to our traditions and our ideals. We are taking concrete actions to change course. Remember that fundamental thing? Ladies and gentlemen, we haven't even exhausted all that we could talk about, but a man once told me, live bravely so that you do not die cowardly. I promise you I always will. I thank you all so much for tuning in to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Tampa Bay. And we come back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And we hope of all hopes that you understand what I say when I say this last line. God has blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. Love you. God bless and good night.